Marco Polo, a Venetian traveler, came all the way from the west to the Mongol lands. His name was already well known among Mongol officials and warriors as a wise and formidable man. Because of this reputation, he was invited directly to Kublai Khan's court. Inside the palace, Marco Polo was welcomed as an honored guest. Kublai Khan himself acknowledged his extensive travels and heard numerous praises of his intelligence and courage. Marco was given the honor of witnessing the warriors' duels before the emperor. These battles demonstrated the strength of the Mongol warriors and their opponents, ranging from expert swordsmen and wrestlers to warriors from other tribes. Kublai Khan then appointed 3 of the best warriors as bodyguards. They are Duritan, Aburiha, and Dadlu. He then granted Marco Polo permission to travel and serve in the Yangzhou region. His task was to investigate the Han Rebellion and report directly to Kublai. From then on, Marco became not just a traveler, but an official playing a crucial role in the intrigue between Mongol rule and the Han resistance. This is where Marco's perilous journey began, leading to his eventual involvement with the Four Assassins. The atmosphere suddenly turned tense. 2 Han rebels managed to infiltrate Kublai Khan's palace. They came with a single goal: to assassinate the emperor. One of the rebels was killed, while the other was deliberately allowed to escape by Kublai Khan. Kublai had another motive. He wanted to know the rebels' location. Kublai then appointed Marco Polo as the new inspector with the mission of investigating and crushing the Han rebels. The rebel who managed to escape from the palace returned to his hiding place, badly wounded. There, he met his wife and younger brother. Realizing his imminent death, he left a final message for his younger brother to continue the fight against the Mongols and to protect his wife. He also mentioned his 5 adopted brothers, all skilled kung fu masters. One of them had died in the palace, but the other 4 were still alive and must be gathered together to fight the Mongol oppression. Shortly afterward, Marco Polo and his palace guards arrived and immediately attacked the brothers.
Marco Polo was carrying the wife of Tsui, the slain rebel. Along the way, they encountered 4 farmers carrying their crops. Marco Polo instructed one of them to carry Tsui's wife in their cart to speed up the journey.
On their way, they stopped at an abandoned house to spend the night. One of the mischievous village youths urinated into the soup bowl. At first, he smiled happily when he saw the soup taken, but he was shocked when he saw Marco Polo giving it to Tsui's wife. Fortunately, Tsui's wife, who hated court officials, knocked the soup bowl over. The village youths, let's call them by their original names, Fu Sheng, Chi Quan Chin, Yen San, and Kuo Tsui, discussed the woman's behavior. She seemed strange. She refused to eat. She hated the Mongols, but her face showed no fear. Her calm demeanor made the rebels suspect something was up. From her appearance, they suspected the woman was the wife of Tsui, their sworn brother. Finally, they decided to rescue her. The 4 young men fled, but the Mongol warriors didn't immediately pursue them. They planned to use Tsui's wife as bait to locate the rebels' base. After feeling safe, the 4 young men met with Tsui's wife. Sure enough, she was the wife of their adopted brother. They then decided to go to the home of Tsui's wife's father, the leader of the rebels. And sure enough, the Mongols were only pretending to have failed to capture them. However, they continued to observe from afar until they discovered the rebels' hiding place. The young men and Tsui's wives finally arrived at the village where her father, Chief Tsui, lived. Upon meeting the village chief, the young men asked to be taught martial arts so they could fight the Mongols and avenge their brothers' deaths. However, the village chief's response was surprising. He sternly explained that the Mongol government had banned all forms of martial arts training. He himself had once mastered many kung fu skills, but admitted he had forgotten them. Disappointment gripped the young men. However, the village chief then offered them another job, work at his place. After everyone agreed, Chief Tsui assigned them to the tasks. Kuo Tsui was tasked with transporting livestock manure for fertilizer. Yin San carried rocks from the hills. Chi Quan Chin cut bamboo with his bare hands, as the use of knives was prohibited by the Mongol government. And Fu Sheng was assigned to work at the rice mill. It all sounded like menial labor, but unbeknownst to them, these tasks were actually hidden forms of training. Carrying heavy loads, breaking rocks, and bending bamboo with the strength of their hands trains their bodies to become tougher. The next day, the young men began carrying out the tasks assigned by Chief Tsui. From the outside, it appeared to be ordinary manual labor, but in reality, it was a rigorous training program designed to shape their bodies and minds. Fu Sheng was taken to the rice mill. His palms were trained to develop immense strength. Chi Quan Chin was instructed to break bamboo poles with his bare hands. Knives were prohibited as they were considered illegal weapons. This training would strengthen his body and make him invulnerable to weapons. Yen San was sent to the hills to move large rocks. This exercise increased his muscle strength and gave him immense strength. Kuo Tsui was tasked with carrying manure from a manure pit. He was forced to jump from the pit without being allowed to climb. This exercise would make his body lighter, enabling him to jump high.
The end of your arms. You want to Paying bastard.
That night, they were secretly summoned by their master for further instruction. They began practicing basic forms, combining the physical strength gained during the day with refined martial arts techniques. The pain, abrasions, and itching of the training were considered part of the process of mastering the martial arts. In this way, Chief Chu's village transformed everyday chores into a combat training ground, preparing the youth for their future encounters with the Mongol army and the Four Assassins.
Marco Polo continued his investigation into the remote village led by Chief Chu. According to reports from the Mongol soldiers, the village appeared peaceful and free of suspicious activity. They even reported that the villagers possessed no weapons, not even hoes or shovels. However, suspicions remained, as 4 men and a woman had previously entered the village and never left. Marco Polo decided to visit in person. The presence of a foreign official of his caliber surprised the villagers. The village chief greeted him with respect, though he was clearly cautious. Marco began asking questions. He brought up the rumored insurgents who had entered the village. Chief Chu calmly denied that the village was filled with law-abiding people. There could be no murderers here.
To test the situation, Marco asked permission to explore the village. Chief Chu agreed, even allowing his troops to search, though Marco preferred to only wander around briefly. Marco's suspicions grew when he realized there were no women in sight. Chief Chu quickly replied that it was village custom. The women remained confined to their homes and rooms, not permitted to appear before the men. Finally, Marco took his leave. Though his suspicions persisted, he said he might return another time. After Marco left, Chief Chu reminded his followers that Marco Polo was no fool. He could return at any time, and they needed to be extra careful to prevent the secrets of his kung fu training and the rebels' hideout from being discovered.
Meanwhile, Marco Polo also praised Chief Chu's ingenuity. He hadn't found any evidence of rebels there. However, he planned to visit again in 2 months. This time, however, he would come in secret, not officially.
Several weeks had passed since the young men joined Chief Chu's village. The daily manual labor that had initially seemed like punishment had now become the foundation of their physical training. From morning until night, they continued to train diligently. The teacher then reminded his students not to be overconfident. He said that the path to true mastery of the techniques was still long. What they had learned so far was only the basics. You have indeed made progress, but remember, in every martial art there is always a limit called a gate. The narrower the gate you can pass through, the higher your level of mastery. Don't be complacent. They returned to training even harder.
As the weeks passed, the village youths trained more and more, their bodies becoming more toned and beginning to show signs of improvement. Their Chief Chu acknowledged their progress, but reminded them to continue practicing diligently, noting that time was short and they were not yet fully prepared.
Kublai Khan issued a firm order. Marco Polo was to deal with the rebels immediately. The order was immediately relayed to Marco Polo. The plan was made. The Mongol warriors would attack the village at dawn with a large force. However, Marco Polo also planned a secret visit first to confirm their suspicions.
That night, Chu's wife reflected in grief. 3 months had passed since her husband's murder,
and during that time she had endured the pain to help her father guard the village. But now she felt the time had come to join her husband. In her deep sorrow, she took a desperate step. With tears streaming down her face, she ended her own life to reunite with her husband in the afterlife. Marco Polo, who witnessed the incident too late, stopped her. Chief Chu accused Marco Polo of allowing the tragedy to happen, but Marco declared that he wanted to join her husband, and that was his right. Chief Chu then looked at Marco Polo and said, "You're from Venice, aren't you? If the Mongols came to your land and oppressed your people, would you surrender or fight?" Marco paused for a moment, then answered honestly, "I would fight, of course." Chief Chu explained that was what they were doing, fighting even though they knew they would likely lose. "If we die, the next generation will rise up against us, and after that, the next generation. We won't stop until we win. Becoming slaves would only betray the honor of our nation." These words pierced Marco Polo's heart. He began to understand that this people's struggle was not merely resistance, but a struggle to maintain the nation's dignity and honor. As dawn approached, a tense atmosphere enveloped the rebels' hideout. Marco warned them of an impending Mongol attack. He urged them to leave immediately to save themselves. However, they refused to leave. They insisted on staying to avenge the deaths of their comrades in arms who had been killed by the Mongols. During their conversation, they devised a strategy to confront the Mongol warriors. Marco pretended to be captured by the rebels. After this, he decided not to meet Kublai Khan again and would leave China. His decision to leave was not driven by fear, but by inner conflict and rejection of the atrocities being committed. The final battle between the Mongols and the rebels at Chief Chu's village is a testament to enduring courage. Despite being outnumbered and outmaneuvered, the young men, tempered by rigorous training, fought tooth and nail. Their courage and sacrifice became a symbol of undying resistance. Marco Polo, who arrived as a Mongol official from the beginning, witnessed firsthand how the Han people chose to die with honor rather than live as slaves. He realized that, despite the Mongols' power, the flame of resistance would never be extinguished. Generation after generation would continue to rise until victory finally arrived. The film concludes with a tragic yet heroic atmosphere, reminding us that the struggle for freedom and national honor is eternal, never to be defeated by power. That's the complete storyline of Marco Polo and the Four Assassins, a classic tale of sacrifice and an undying spirit of resistance. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel to stay updated on the latest videos about classic films, Wuxia, and other epic stories. Subscribe now and be part of our exciting journey through the world of classic films and legendary, inspiring stories.